world just saw you taking water, just so you know. We got about 3 minutes.
So you're not, you said you are live, or you're not?
Yeah, I am. You can see it right here, though. But we got about 3 minutes before we start.
Looks bad.
Oh, hey, Maggie, you're watching. So good.
How do you see that? That's
Mute Maggie, please.
Okay.
Mute your device.
I don't understand.
Mike looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh.
Oh, now I see how you share it with the friends timeline. Okay. All right, we got we're going to go about 1 minute. All right, about 1 minute, Max. I'll be ready. I just want to do one more. Were you able to share?
I did.
Oh, good job. I'm glad this doesn't have to be like military time right on. We can kind of control our own destiny. I'm going to do one more share. And just get her
You know
going.
you can do it. They have a list, and you just go and do all the people on.
No, it's not that easy. At least not for me. I always have to do
What
it.
is it with this shirt?
Alright, let's get ready to roll here. I'm going to put the iPad down and we'll start. Alright.
He disappeared.
That's good. That's good.
Why'd you do that?
Alright, how'd I do it?
No, why'd you do that? There you go.
Well, I like to have it close even though I'll never look at it. You know?
Or you're supposed to be looking up there.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be looking at the camera. Notice the lens is on your side tonight. All right, well, good evening. I'm Chris Lukasevich, candidate for Carbon County Commissioner, and this is Carbon Matters live streaming 2.0. After our short, about 7-week break since the primary, I'm being joined by my wife Maggie and co-host of Carbon Matters live streaming. I want to thank the folks for starting to tune back in. We're going to kind of take a slow climb up here over the next a few iterations of Carbon Matters live stream as we kind of get back in the rhythm after this about a 7-week break, right? Since May 21st, we've had a pretty good break, I would say. Things slowed down quite a bit. A few breakfasts, a few commissioners meetings, zoning board hearing meetings and stuff like that, but nothing too intrusive in our personal lives. So summer is starting around here and a nice little getaway for a little bit of time too.
Yeah.
So again, I'm Chris Lukasevich, candidate for Carbon County Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us in Carbon Matters live streaming. A couple points I would like to make.
Sound check first. You just thumbs up if you can hear us.
Yeah, then that's why I love having you on my right side, because you remember the little things, because the little things do matter. So a simple thumbs up from anyone out there, just to let us know that the sound is good, the video's good on our end. It looks good, but a thumbs up would be helpful.
Right.
We good?
None yet. So
None yet.
just keep talking, and if it's
And I will keep talking. So again, let me talk quickly then as we go on here, is doing the sound check of, what is the purpose or the purposes of Carbon Matters live streaming, and more or less, I find it to be threefold, right? It's to help us all be better informed citizens and voters. It serves to the purpose as a medium to have a conversations on the issues that are most important to us in our daily lives here as residents of Carbon County. And lastly, it allows me to have a platform or a medium in which to present some of my views or perspectives on those topics that are important to all of us here. As I always like to remind everyone who tunes in and anyone who comes to C4 headquarters here at the 1200 block on Center Street in Jim Thorpe, the official coffee sponsor is Ruiz Coffee. This is the official coffee RR campaign. I want to thank the Ruizes for providing tons and tons of Ruiz coffee for C4, Christopher Carbon County Commissioner. Thank you so much, specifically Leah Peck Ruiz, for her gracious donation to Christopher Carbon County Commissioner. And Ruiz coffee is available online. You can Google it. And it's great coffee, shipped right out of Ohio, originates in Panama, but Leah brings it in. Her and her husband David bring it in from Panama and provide it right to you. So thanks to Cafe Ruiz. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone once again, but you can never be too grateful, or in expressing gratitude, right? Can never overdo it as far as I'm concerned, for all those who helped get me up to 21 May and then through that day. And mostly those folks, then not only those who were active on social media, those who allowed me to post the signs, the political boards and things of that nature, but those who went out to the polls and spent the day or hours out there at the polls on election day. Because all those little things came together to get us where we are today, and that's going into the election in November.
a comment. Perry says, any update on the Canadian situation, Packer, with the Gerhards?
Can you give me, Gary, specifically, Perry? Are you referring, I'm assuming, to either Liberty Power or Algonquin Power? Are you asking is the PA Future Fund of $5,000, did that somehow originate through, or somehow the money is funneled from Liberty or Algonquin? Bearing in mind, my understanding, both Algonquin and Liberty Power are Canadian companies. Therefore, it would be a federal election campaign violation if they were to provide the money. Now, Broad Mountain Power, LLC, is a U.S. entity. So if PA Future Fund received, for example, $5,000 from Broad Mountain Power, and that was passed, that would be a legal contribution as long as it was reported.
I think they're just asking about the wind turbines, Chris. It says, any update on the Canadian situation in Packer with the Gerhards?
Well, again, a little clarity. Again, it could or could not be. The fact is, the zoning board hearings continue to go on. I was at the last one Monday night. We were talking about flickering just for a little bit, and then ice coming off. And that lasts almost 3 hours. I was up there for about an hour and 45 minutes after Molly got to bed, got up there and stuff like that. And there are 2 more hearings coming up this month, and I'll talk about that here a little bit down the road on that. But those hearings continue to move ahead. And they did also, Broad Mountain Power did a briefing to Lake Ottawa Estates residents, and they also did a transmission line discussion with the folks up in Nesquehoning, I recall also.
He's asking specifically about the discrimination against renters.
I'm not familiar with that issue, and I've been to all the zoning board hearing. I'm not familiar with any issue as it refers to discrimination against renters. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's.
No one's on that property. Like there are no homes on the property. Where
Well, it's owned by Kovach, by Hazelton Electric, and then Pasta
But I'm
Pop.
saying there's no one in a home that's renting a home on any of the property.
No one will be displaced by it.
Yeah,
right. No one will be physically displaced by turbine placement. But let's move through our normal process, because what we like to do, we like to start with the lighter topics and then move into the heavier ones, because the turbine issue is a heavy one, because there's another hydro project being planned for Banks Township, Packer Township, that's going to be interesting to talk about here, not only tonight, into the coming future. So let's go ahead and get started. I am only going to go back about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not going back to May 21st by any means, form, or fashion. It was great to see. A while ago, we saw Senator Udicek and others announce potential nominees or opportunities for local students to apply to the military academies. And we recently had a Naval Academy acceptance for Chris Whiteman from Lehighton. So that came from Representative Matt Cartwright, excuse me. I don't know why I was thinking Udicek when this is the Service Academy. So congratulations to Chris Whiteman from Lehighton for his acceptance at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. I was looking at, just prior to the 4th of July, the Times News, Maggie, was running, had a question, what America means to me. And it interviewed about 12 or 13 people with little caveats. And a lot of people said the home of the brave and the free, opportunity. But one specific one caught my eye, and because I call it into question, because I don't believe it's necessarily what America is today. And I quote, I see, I'm sorry?
I said, hi, Dee.
Oh, hi, Dee, how are you? I see a country today where no matter your opinion, you are free to express it how you choose. And I find that because of the political ideological split in this country, that you aren't able to speak freely because you will be verbally attacked on social media, in the media, or the press if you don't have an opinion similar to certain extremist, almost, to be honest.
It doesn't even matter whether you're being respectful or not anymore. It's like you can't even...
Yeah, opinions aren't respected, or your opinion or your position isn't respected and having an intelligent debate. Rather, you're attacked for your beliefs, which I think is sad. So that was just something I saw on what America means to me. And I wanted to reflect on that because we did have a wonderful 4th of July. We had a rough day weather-wise on the 6th of July. The 4th of July was really nice.
It was beautiful.
But a lot of the celebrations were that weekend. So we had that rain on Saturday, right?
Christian's on too.
Oh, hi, Christian. Thank you so much for tuning in from up on the mountain. Speaking of our nation's independence, Palmerton just recently dedicated what I would refer to as a Minuteman statue, or a Sons of Liberty 1775 a statue.
Very
incredible. Nice. 12 individuals from the Palmerton area and did go off to serve in the Revolutionary War, and they were recently, that participation in America's Revolution, our independence, was recognized with the dedication of a monument in Palmerton. So I'd encourage everyone to get down and take a look at that Sons of Liberty 1775, because remember, April of 1775, this great nation started coming alive, right? Lexington and Concord. There it is. So now we have it right there in Palmerton.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, Tara. Welcome on. And again, I'm Chris Lukasevich, candidate for Carbon County Commissioner. I'm joined by my wife, Maggie, my co-host for Carbon Matters live streaming, which is the live streaming Facebook version of the blog, which is on c4commissioner.org. And we're kind of rolling back in after about a 6 or 7 plus week hiatus from Carbon Matters. Oh, talking about good things too, Maggie didn't go up there, but I got up to the Hootenanny up in Summit Hill. I spent about an hour up there. Extremely windy day up there, but the weather was perfect. Took the motorcycle up there. On one end of Ludlow Park, they had kind of an open mic, so anyone could go up, and when I was up there, there was acoustic guitarists playing and singing, and then on the other end were all the formal acts, and all in between. And Ludlow's are actually really pretty park. Kind of narrow, but really pretty. You know, a lot of trees, a couple military statues and stuff up there. Really nice. So the Hootenanny up in Summit Hill, that's a great event, and I understand it'll continue to get better and bigger each year, although somewhat limited in space, but it was a great community liking event up there. For all you hunters, I always like to highlight hunting things that are coming up because folks around here do cling to their guns. We did see antlerless hunting license opportunities are now open. Started this past Monday to get your quote-unquote antlerless or doe licenses. Down at the courthouse today, the treasurer, Ronnie Sheehan, who runs that particular program, has some college students down there who are helping issue out and register those doe licenses. So if you're interested in doe hunting, this is the time to get on down there. And talking about hunting, one of the greatest assets we have in Pennsylvania and even in Carbon County are our state game lands. State game lands, 141, right? Glenanoco Falls, right? Is that not within 141? It sure is. But this is what I want to talk about, Game Lands 141. So that's the one up on top of the Broad Mountain, which has Glenanoco access from the top. And there's 2 or 3 gates that lead into there to include one of the power lines. But in between 2 of the gates, it'd be the first one as you're leaving, from Nesquehoning, coming up the Broad towards Weatherly up there, for about a half-mile stretch, maybe about 40 or 50 yards wide. They're timber harvesting up there. I did call Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Game Commission, asked them if there was a press release on the reason for the timbering or harvesting. They had no idea it was taking place. They directed me down to the Northeast Regional Office of the Pennsylvania Game Commission. The person I spoke to there had no idea what was going on. Then she told me it would be in my best interest to leave a message with the forester and he'd get back in contact with me. Now, that's 2 days ago. Never got a call back from the forester of the Northeast region of the Pennsylvania Commission. I know there's a lot of chatter on Facebook. I actually had posted up in the Packer Township Facebook page some images and some video that I took up there of them doing some timber harvesting up there. So again, it'd be just nice to know what is going on. I know it has nothing to do with wind turbines. I'm positive of that.
No,
it's not in that area.
No, it's not in that area.
Quote unquote.
But still, it's like they should let people know
what's going on, right? Yeah. So that's there.
And the fact that the offices that supposedly manage that space, they don't even have
at 2
a
different
clue.
levels. Yeah,
it's
I
like,
can't
it
believe
almost makes you wonder, like a lumber company's like, hey, you can just go get the lumber from the state.
Right.
No one
knows. Yeah, and everyone will ask questions, but no one will get any answers. It's like county government sometimes. I don't know, but that's just kind of crazy. Oh, Dollar General, in my program I just finished at Lehigh, a lot of folks were talking about Dollar General and what they're trying to be to America. And they're trying to be the old neighborhood store. So again, we see Dollar Generals and stuff popping up all over. And I just saw that East Penn Township has okayed a plan for a Dollar General. So, man, they're popping up like weeds, flowers. Mm-hmm. They're popping up all over.
All over.
Yeah.
Like the one in Lehighton makes sense because it's
you can walk to it.
Walking distance.
Yeah.
But all the other ones, they're not really.
No, you have to drive.
You have to drive to them.
Yeah.
There's not a single other one that I can think of other than Lehighton.
That's urban, quote unquote. Yeah. And that's what I hate to talk about one of my great ideas in my MBA course. Didn't get much traction, but we had to think outside the box about Walmart and stuff like that. And one of my ideas was for Walmart, because they've been such a ridicule of them, or they've been accused of, destroying all these mom and pops. If I were Walmart, I would create a sub-brand, which was actually a corner store. So like Ryder Rebolt store in Jim Thorpe, like Bennex, all these other stores, all these neighborhoods used to have, that would be actually like a Walmart, and it would be run by local people who live in the neighborhood. Again, small store concept, trying to bring that back. Wow. It went over as well with Meg as it did with my classmates. I loved the idea, though. Anyway, did see that Lee Iacocca died. You might remember Lee as, head of Chrysler. Also, then he helped design and launch the Ford Mustang prior to being at Chrysler. Revitalization of Chrysler, and that was the K car, which is one of the ugliest cars in the world, but nonetheless, that helped revitalize the company at the time. I think importantly, too, President Reagan appointed or asked, and Lee Iacocca accepted, the program to raise funds for the restoration of the Statue of Liberty for the bicentennial.
Very successful.
Yeah, so very successful. So that is just one of two.
Marianne's on.
Oh, hi, Marianne. So that is one of two high-profile deaths we had over the last couple of weeks. Ross Perot obviously made a run, two runs actually, independent runs for the president. Some blame him for George Bush 41 losing to Clinton because he got about 17-18% of the vote that could have otherwise, some would argue, have gone to the Bush. To Bush again. I think the world of Ross Perot. Huh?
Other things are saying that Clinton at that point has already in the double digits.
Right. And again, there's both sides to that argument, but nonetheless, it's an argument that's been made. But Ross Perot, while the United States government failed to rescue our hostages held in Iran, unfortunately, Desert One incident, Ross Perot, when I believe it was 3 of his employees were taken hostage in Iran, he did launch a private effort, and he actually accompanied the operation that he financed and did rescue 3 of his EDS employees who are being held in Iran.
And he was wasn't he an
honorary Green Beret, a great supporter of U.S. Army Special Forces and the Marines and stuff like that. And he was a Navy man himself. So rest in peace, both Lee Iacocca, who's written actually a couple of pretty good books on leadership, and then Ross Perot, who I really liked. And I would say he was the forefather of the PowerPoint slide. He used to, as explaining debt and stuff, he'd have these big charts and stuff like that. And to me, I always thought that was kind of the precursor of PowerPoint. I want to bring up live streaming. I'm a big transparency advocate, and that's one of my initiatives to get all public meetings of county government being live streamed. And I did see an article about live streaming of council and some committee meetings. And this one counselor expressed his hope that the presence of the cameras and a new live audience wouldn't change council members' behavior. Quote unquote, I don't want our council meetings to turn into auditions for movie stars. The mayor said, Hugenboom, said the cameras could put people on their best behavior. Quote unquote, it will be. It takes a little bit of adjustment. You have to think about what you're going to say before you say it. It's just another way for people to judge us, he said. Now, I will tell you, this is from Ontario, Canada. But nonetheless, you can see there are concerns about from elected officials about live streaming. And again, don't want them putting on an act and show. But I think it's kind of like Big Brother. It doesn't take long before you almost forget the presence of that camera there, and you become yourself.
Right.
And talking about elected officials, campaigns, candidates, I saw that, who would have been? Oh, Attorney Michael Greek, candidate for office of Carbon County District Attorney, has announced his team. Right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 9 individuals who are part of his team to include chairman. And there's this little, and there's, I keep looking at the iPad in front that you guys can't see, but it helps supposed to keep me kind of straight in the picture and stuff.
Get even closer.
But if you notice, there's those 3 little letters after each name. God bless Mike. Every one of those is an Esquire, which of course most of us know represent a lawyer and stuff like that. But again, he has put together a strong team there, so best of luck to Mike Greek, U.S. Army veteran. in his candidacy for district attorney here in Carbon County. Oh, Mr. Charlie Bott from, was it Charlie or Pete? Oh, Pete from Jim Thorpe. He had some thoughts on the Susquehanna project. So we're starting to get a little bit heavier here now. Here we go. Susquehanna Street project. He had a letter to the editor.
Mary's just started to watch too, so.
Oh, Mary.
Great time.
Mary Shorten.
Yeah, great timing.
Mary, you should probably get in contact with me based upon my questions to the Jim Thorpe Borough Council tonight. In regards to the Susquehanna Street project and withdrawal of the building permit, because I wanted clarification from the borough about the process, timing, sequencing, and so I asked them 3 or 4 pointed questions. Yep, that we're all well aware of, obviously, Mary, from your question again this morning. But Mr. Bott was just talking about, again, this is somewhat of a rehash, but again, it's good to remember, a few years back, the Bott Bevan building on the east side went up for auction and sold for a song. He says, were there any bids from the county? Question mark. Don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So good job for Pete Bott for keeping the pressure on and again raising the issue of judgment or lack of judgment by our elected officials, because that's part of the way we need to be judging them, is on their judgment. So again, thank you so much for tuning in.
She's going to call you later.
Okay, great. This is Carbon Matters live streaming, the Facebook live streaming version of Carbon Matters, which is at c4commissioner.org/Carbon Matters. Is that a / or a / whatever it is? Hey, just Google it. And if I'm not coming up first in your Google searches for Carbon County, Lukasiewicz, and stuff like that, man, they're cheating me. So let me know. My 7 cents I give to Google every month isn't serving me well. So if I'm not the first on that search engine. Late closings. So we had that nightmare again out at Beltsville over the 4th of July. On the 4th of July specifically, it was, in no time it was closed. In no time the traffic was all the way backed up.
People were grilling on the side of the road.
And
it was a traffic jam.
And who would be surprised to find out that in days after, the park was closed, again because of high levels of bacteria. High levels of bacteria. And if I recall, Hickory Run, short time later, was closed for the same problem. Again, they keep saying, it's all those geese around. But interesting, what I found on July 5th, Locust Lake is another one in Schuylkill County that was closed by DCNR. So I think Mock Chunk Lake was the only one that stayed and is still open, without any problems. But in reference to Mock Chunk Lake Park, the county is looking for up to 3 lifeguards to serve for 2 weeks here. Some of the college kids and others are starting to go back to school. So they have a need to fill that gap kind of mid-August through Labor Day weekend. It was something that, surprisingly, they didn't foresee. Again,
because this is every year.
Every year, right? Kids go back to college around mid-August and stuff like that. Then what you have kids who go back to school even in August. Our daughter goes back on the 26th from Lehighton. Right. So again, small things do matter. Just another indicator. But my big concern really is our elected officials continue to fail us when it comes to finding a resolution for the problem at Beltsville State Park. And the problem at Beltsville State Park impacts Hickory Run State Park, Mock Chunk Lake Park. I would assume
and
also
the residents of Carbon County.
And significantly. And it isn't, Beltsville is not a county park, but it does impact our quality of life. So if nothing else, our elected officials at the county level should be our strongest advocates to get action done. Because I see quite a bit of talking, few action or few notable things that have made any difference or impact. This is my position right now. I thought I saw the beach capacity was listed like at 8,400. I saw a sign in the background of a Blue Ridge Cable TV 13 thing that was done. My thought is, look, if the garbage is overflowing, it's one of two things. There aren't enough dumpsters or there's too many people. So you got to do one of two things. You got to lower the allowable number of individuals into the park, or you have to bring in more dumpsters. Just like crime or traffic, you have to do one of two things. You have to provide more resources or limit the access. That's what I would do. I would start cutting back on the access. Now the challenge becomes, should county residents or state residents have greater accessibility compared to others who might be traveling from New York or New Jersey to come there? I would think most probably come from Allentown in that, but why don't we do a census? Why aren't we paying a college kid, $10 an hour, whatever, every car, every person that comes into Beltsville, how many are you, where are you from? And then we know for a fact where people are coming from.
Right, they have no clue.
They have no clue. And again, that's part of my concern is, they make these decisions without the data to help make informed decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mary Ann says, if you can't take care of the small things, you'll never be able to take care of the big things.
Yep, and we're not taking care of the small things very well, it seems, unfortunately. I know, again, I always like to say we can do better, Yeah. Voting machines, just under $500,000 for the voting machines that the county has chosen. It's kind of going back, having Governor Wolf's requirement to having a paper audit trail. Schuylkill County has just chosen one also, which again, all of them have to have that paper audit trail. Now we're down under $500,000 for those machines. Originally, I think they were looking at $800,000 to $900,000, if I recall, because it's been going on for a while. So at least the cost is about in half. However, we did expect or hope, although it's not a course of action, that Governor Wolf might have been successful in the budget of getting additional money to help offset that cost. Now, the legislator, because it was tied to other political issues such as getting rid of straight party ticket voting, that didn't make it through for approval. So any additional financial support at this time is unlikely, although the governor is trying to create a $90 million bond, which the legislator says he's not authorized to do. So we'll see if any additional funding comes to help to offset the cost of the new voting machines. I'm not a big supporter of them for use in the general election. They weren't used in the primary. The same voting machine that was used in the primary should be used in the general. I think there's going to be confusion and chaos. They're not going to have enough time to train and educate enough people to make it comfortable.
I thought this was for 2020, though.
No, they're going to be, the Board of Elections, the commissioners are saying they're going to be used. The cutoff was next year to have it done.
Oh.
But again, again, I have a problem with it. Again, don't want any disenfranchised voters. There was a bill that was presented in the state to freeze senior taxes, but those would have to already been in the Homestead Act program.
That doesn't cover all of them.
I know, and I looked at the article, and you can read it Saturday, July 6th, Times News, by David Fidlin. It seems like it's real narrow. It starts at folks who are 65, but you already have to have been in the Homestead Act program and stuff. Remember,
that's for households under.
Right, it's so like low income, right? Yeah. Where again, my proposal is across the board, 66 and older, and it's basically once you hit Social Security age. If you are the owner of a single family residence and that is your primary residence, for the county portion of your property taxes, which is 10.25, you receive each year, if you're a married a couple or an individual, a 0.25 mil decrease each year. Now, if you're a widow or widower, that would start as a $0.5 mil decrease each year. I did look at it both from a legal perspective and from a financial impact on the county budget. It's doable. So that will be one of the.
It would be done as a rebate.
Yeah, it would be done as a rebate. It wouldn't be a tax.
It wouldn't be a tax
break. It would be. It has to be formed in the, like as a
As a
rebate,
rebate.
as a rebate. So again, that's my proposal, and come January, if I am elected, that will be either my first or second issue that I'll be bringing up as a motion at my first meeting of the Board of Commissioners. And you can see all those proposed motions at c4commissioners.org/carbon matters. So please do. Oh, I know we got Christian on. I don't know if we have Cindy or anyone else from
Nancy.
Penn Forest. Hi, Nancy. Hope things are going well
I
out
don't
there.
know about Cindy.
So I think near and dear to their heart, I think the most, probably two big issues I think out in Penn Forest right now, or at least that are getting media attention. Obviously, the Atlantic wind turbine appeals are big, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But the board staying out of the camp dispute that's taking place out there. Oh, what an issue. That's one.
Campground,
Yeah, that's one. You know, sometime, Christian, we need to do a
Yes.
call in with you to explain all the ins and outs of that. I know you're well versed on that subject. What I've been getting is secondhand, and of course through the Times News. I've been reading a lot about the camp dispute going out there, and also the potential sanitation issues associated with that campsite. The issue in regards to traffic in the private communities
Yeah.
that are taking place. Okay, yeah, complain about gray water and improper human waste disposal.
Well,
So
because it's on tent R&R,
oh yeah,
and
10
they basically they're camping, and they're basically going out in the woods,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
and you multiply that by however many people.
yeah.
After a while, it's going to become a problem.
Yeah, and in the military, we do slit trenches and stuff like that, and we have certain steps we
Ways
take
to, yeah.
to help hold down
But
the
not
possibility of
everybody's
disease and things
and
like that,
stuff.
dysentery specifically, quite
But
frankly,
not
right?
everybody's well versed.
Right.
And
Yes,
the thing is too, like I was trying to explain to Chris where it's actually located and how you get there.
Uh-huh.
You're driving through residential area. I mean, it's not like you're, you know, like Pocono Whitewater. You're going right off of 903 and being on their property. You're literally driving through like a bunch of neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the fact that I don't think the owner ever even contacted.
Well, I think
Yeah.
there are some questions
Yeah, we
to the
don't know
permitting
yet.
process
Yeah,
and that.
all
I
that
don't want,
stuff,
again, I'll try to dig into that a little bit deeper here, but I do know he has a 400-acre tract back there that he's been using as a business and stuff like
Cindy's
that.
on vacation.
Oh, okay. All right.
But Christian said
Well-
that he can work something out. Just let him know.
Yeah, no, that'd be great,
Yeah.
Kristen. Just love to have a little more background
Yeah.
on that. And matter of fact,
So start brushing up on
oh my
it.
gosh, I need it by Sunday. I think there's a breakfast up at Penn Forest Township, so I better be ready. I need to call him soon.
Yeah.
So talking about campgrounds, Maggie and I just came directly from the Borough
Oh,
Council meeting in Jim
yeah.
Thorpe. Wait, we didn't come directly.
Oh, we had to stop at Annie's.
I'll
right?
be honest, we stopped at, Maggie made me leave the meeting 2 minutes early so we could stop at Annie's for ice cream on the way back.
Chocolate ice cream. On
So
my-
right before the video went live, we were, licking ice cream cones here.
no cold headaches.
Right, no cold headaches, although I was rushing to chew my cone. But campgrounds, and that's the reason this ties into the Penn Forest Township, and that overlap is campgrounds. Jim Thorpe was expected tonight to vote on a campground plan for Flagstaff.
Flagstaff.
This is Flagstaff Plan 3.0, 5.0, whatever, Jake. It was originally an 80-some resident on all those on the acres up there. Then it's a winery. Now it's blueberries and raspberries organically being grown for wine eventually. And now Jake is looking at the potential of putting a quote-unquote campground up there, up on the Flagstaff. You'll see some of the social media posts.
Did you bring the agenda?
No.
Because it says on there, it actually says it's actually for cabins, RVs, and camp.
Okay,
I
yeah, I
know.
have it over there on the other town.
Yeah.
But again, so it was not voted on. Now, the
No,
zoning
they
board for
extended.
Jim Thorpe did recommend a disapproval currently. The borough council did not vote on it. That is because there was some paperwork that Jake and his lawyer
letter.
submitted today, a letter, but it was a packet of information from what I saw, some of them thumbing through. But it was received at 1 o'clock today, so they agreed on an extension that actually goes through October.
90-day extension.
Yeah, or more or less. Actually, a little more now
More
because
than-
it
yeah.
goes the end of October, to 31 October. So the zoning board has an opportunity, zoning commission has an opportunity to review the letter. The council has a chance to review it.
It was for the council to review it and for the request for it to go back before the
Zoning board. Right,
to
yeah.
to
Interesting, and for Jim Thorpe residents, it's interesting, probably not for really anyone else. But the solicitor for Jake Garner, so his attorney, did ask Joanne Klitsch and Tommy Highland. Now, Joanne Klitsch, she's on both zoning and council. Tommy's just on council, but he was asking both of them to recuse themselves from any votes because of potential conflicts of interest. So read about it in the Times News tomorrow.
You're assuming that they're going to write about that.
They'll write about it tomorrow. It'll be in there. But again, asking them to recuse themselves from future voting.
I thought that Tommy Highland was a little bit of a stretch. Because they said his business was in close proximity. I'm like, if you count a whole mountain,
right.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Not really. And then Joanne's I thought was valid.
But Jake's plan is originally, remember, it was going to be 80 some high value residences was 84. His original plan.
It was 84. Then
right. Now he has an alternative plan. If the campground is approved, then now he has another plan for what, a couple hundred homes or something? Yeah.
74, something like that. Homes.
Yeah, with 275 residences. So he has like a backup to his backup to his backup. So again, this is, I think most of us feel, one, we hate to see our ridge lines aesthetically destroyed. That's always a big concern of mine. And as I think most folks know who've listened to me over the last 2 years, it's contrary to the spirit and the letter of the Carbon County Comprehensive Plan and the Middle Carbon County Comprehensive Plan that multiple boroughs, to include Jim Thorpe, sign up for. But at the same time, if Jake Garner, if his plan meets all the ordinances, laws, regulations, and permitting and stuff like that, you got to live with it. All we can do are blame ourselves for not having more restrictive covenants or ordinances.
Right.
Obviously, Penn Forest Township saw challenges like that. Packer Township is experiencing it also with their 2008 turbine ordinance. So again, elected officials have to be forward thinking. You really are, and you need to be updating and reviewing your ordinances in a regular, timely fashion.
Well, I think part of it is having a vision for their area of responsibility. Let's say for the Jim Thorpe Borough, their vision for Jim Thorpe needs to be so clear to them that. And the ordinances need to back up what their
Well, that's part of that comprehensive plan. But the Carbon County or the Middle Carbon County Comprehensive Plan is supposed to be that vision.
But it's not. They let him clear.
Right, they let him clear cut. Yeah, so I don't understand that.
That was a total violation of that. But I agree to a certain extent with Jake. He's just asking for a fair shake.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I feel bad for him because he doesn't
seem to be getting a fair shake.
Fair shake. That's right.
Yeah. Again,
that's
and I don't want the project, yet I still don't think he's getting a fair shake. Right. Fair shake for Jake. That should be his motto. I need next time.
There's solicitors that are on the job that are looking into it to ensure that he does. And the solicitor for Jim Thorpe Borough actually said to Joanne, if you don't recuse yourself when this goes through, if it's not approved, then they can take
That's
it to court.
That's going to be their first appeal.
That's going to be their first appeal. And not only that, they're going to call her husband into court and ask him about the specifics, and she's basically putting the borough in a position where they may have to go to court over this.
Yeah, and that's what I would ask Joanne as you continue to think about if you're going to recuse yourself or not. I would always say, think about what this might cost in dollars to the borough
and the residents of
if we have to take this to court. And the argument is there was a conflict of interest.
Right.
Yeah. Again, that's something to be considered as you determine what you think is in the best interest. All right. So good luck with that. Let's talk about all these things are tying in. Let's talk about small business and road closures, which happens to include Flagstaff.
Right.
And I would ask guys, please feel to weigh in. Most of you don't realize that Maggie and I were small business owners for about 3 years, 96 to 99. Cafe Ruiz Distributors, C&M, based out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We would have coffee from Panama brought in by an intermediary into the United States, and we would cater our coffee selling to bed and breakfast in the Carolinas, Georgia area. So again, we're sensitive to the trials and tribulations and the challenges associated with a small business because we had one for 3 years, and I didn't make a penny. At all. No.
Well,
but we learn.
The thing too is like for most small businesses, it takes 3 to 5 years to start turning a profit.
And we had 3 years, and we got sent overseas.
Right. So we were kind of nipped in the bud there. But,
yeah. All right.
There's a comment from Josh Ambrose. Marianne, I did see your comment, and it's basically saying that they hired a consultant to draft a comprehensive plan.
Right, that's right.
And that's the PFT Board of Supervisors didn't read it before they voted.
Yeah, and that's right. I think with the Carbon County Commissioners do the same thing.
They don't even know what plan.
Again, it's a dust collector.
Right, but
helps.
And it's real thick, the dust collector. So Josh Ambrose says, I'm curious where you stand on rural broadband access and the idea of government subsidies to fund such versus tax havens for internet corporations instead. If you prefer the second, what taxes would you lower to attract said businesses?
My first thing is I look about the rural electrification program in the United States of America, and that brought electricity throughout rural the United States of America, right? When that had been the 10s, the 20s, and 30s, that time, if I recall correctly. So I do believe at time, government does have to help facilitate services such as utilities being brought to communities that otherwise would be underserved. And technology is so critical to our nation and to the future of our youth. To integrate them into what is the 21st century technology, the government does have to play a role in that. Again, it has to be a minimal role because I don't believe in government intervention in private enterprise, right? You want to help create as much incentive as possible that private industry will do it on their own. But the fact is, historically, the United States has supported research and development. There's been offshoots from NASA, from Department of Defense, Department of Energy that has been utilized, eventually commercialized, privatized. GPS, perfect example of government money and research. But I think a rural electrification program, if it's similar to getting broadband out to the rural areas, let's get it out there. I've always said here in Carbon County, let's stop thinking about superhighways. Let's start thinking about the information highway when it comes to bringing employers here. Yeah. If we can get Google Light Speed, L-I-K-E, Google Like Speed, here in Carbon County, and I looked at what Blue Ridge Cable provides. They don't get anywhere close.
No.
To what you could get out in Olathe, Kansas and stuff where you have Google. I think that would be one thing, one element of infrastructure that could set us apart from other communities.
So the question was...
Okay, good, thanks.
Rural broadband access and the idea of government subsidies to fund such versus tax havens for internet corporations instead. And if you're for the tax havens for internet corporations, which taxes would you lower to attract the businesses?
You know, I'm not well enough versed to speak off the top of my head. So again, I believe every good answer deserves research, and so I'll go ahead and look into it.
Yeah, the thing that I would say, along with the information highway, you do want to make it attractive for those companies to come here, but you don't want to start lowering taxes, because the whole point is you attract those industries in order for the tax base for the residents to go down,
right?
Not for the businesses to be getting a tax break and then everybody's still shouldering the burden of all these companies coming in. That's not the point. The point is for the Carbon County residents to get some breathing room here, and to not just have the taxes not get raised, but to get lowered.
Right. Yeah. And that's a tough balance to strike.
It is.
Because I will tell you, at the end of the day, you and I pay for lower taxes or higher taxes.
Right.
It may not be a tax, but it may come in the form of higher prices. Services are provided, cost. Someone's going to pay for it. And 99.9% of the time, it is the consumer of that service. And that has been a big complaint about some of these economic opportunity zones, that the tax rates are so low that it isn't economically beneficial to the areas.
No.
And again, that's something that has to be looked at, and that I have to look in deeper to figure out what is the right balance of incentive to get the types of companies we think are appropriate here, that are going to bring back our youth to Carbon County, or keep the ones here and
to give them more opportunities.
More opportunity. But I promise I'll look into that over the next week or so, and I'll PM Josh with the response to that, because again, it's not an issue. I'm well versed in the tax havens for those particular companies or service providers. So, all right. So
great question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and thanks for challenging me. I like that. I appreciate that. So, a business owner from Lehighton felt that the road closure was
affecting her business.
Yeah, her business has plummeted. All right. So keep in mind, and again, I haven't seen. There's no numbers here, so I don't know if plummeted is she was earning $2,000 a day of revenue. Now it's down to $1,000 or $50. But nonetheless, a couple of things I have that the majority, I can't say the majority, a lot of traffic still goes through Lehighton. Now this is on 1st Street in
Lehighton, which really hasn't been
the people
affected. Let me see who's the byline.
Terry Arn.
Okay, so Terry.
Yeah.
I thought it was irresponsible to publish that.
Right, because you didn't ask any tough questions. So what was your revenue before? What's your revenue after? How much traffic has lessened going through 1st Street in Lehighton? What time of the day has it got down? Because who uses the Maury Road? Is it people who were going to go through 1st Street in Lehighton anyhow? I would say no. The majority of people who are using the Maury Road are people who are going to use it otherwise. I'm not saying that's, in totality. I'm just saying, if you're going to the Turnpike, you're going to shoot the Maury Road. Right. If you're going somewhere else, guess what? If you're going towards like 443, what are you going to do? You're going to do two things. You're going to go over Flagstaff, and you'll on that end of town, and I'm sure some go over Bugsy, so there might be a little loss there. But without the data, I'm kind of challenging the plummeting. Now, I will also tell you that this particular business owner, they're closed on Monday. On Tuesday and Wednesday, they're only open from 11 to 7. And remember, 8 to 3:30, or is that right? Or 8 to 3. 8:30 to 3 are the closure hours. Yeah. So this owner loses 8 hours of business time, literally between 11 and 3 on 7. Tuesday and Wednesday. That's 8 total hours. When the road is closed.
Oh, right, 11 to 3, yes.
Then that business owner loses 3 hours on Thursday because the business doesn't open till 12 o'clock, right? Then on Friday, the business opens back to them. A total of that, this business is losing 15 hours of business a week on 1st Street in Lehighton.
Supposedly. That's assuming that people at 8:30 in the morning are buying candy. Oh, sorry.
Or
Are
people
buying-
between, or today, or not, or would have been buying it previously between 12 and 3.
Right.
Sounds kind of complicated, but the fact is there's not data to support this.
And then I was telling Chris too, I mean, this place just opened. They opened, like, was it October?
Yeah, I think it was right before Halloween.
So you have Halloween, you have the fall candy stuff, you have, you know, for Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, which is another candy time. You have Valentine's
You're really
Day.
starting to pinpoint this business. But nonetheless,
Okay, yeah,
but again,
Valentine's. But anyways, and you have Easter, and then after that, there's really not that much stuff that
people jumping around wanting to buy
right
this particular item.
Read
the article. You know what, though? I have no doubt the business has reduced. My question has been how much, and is it association, is it causation? And how much is causation and association, if that makes any sense?
And without it being open multiple years, you can't see the cycles of business, you know, where there's highs and lows, which is pretty common with all small businesses, you know, cycles of you know, price, you know, of shopping and being higher than and consumption being higher and lower. So you can't really make those blanket statements and demonize something that was for the public safety.
Yeah,
you
which
know,
again, that's right. And I feel sorry for this business owner and all business owners.
Or like even like Bagel Bunch, if you're going to be sorry for anybody.
Bagel Bunch.
Holy cow.
I would say I don't need data to tell me they're taking a hit.
They're taking a big hit, yeah.
It's that one based upon their hours of operation. You know, what they were previously and stuff like that. Yeah, if anyone. Yeah, that would be the case study.
And this is the thing too. They, you know, I think you asked them, and they said, they've
been
taking a
the
hit,
gentleman.
but they're not in that newspaper article. I mean, and so this Terry person could have said, you know, let me ask other businesses along this closure area to see if they've, you know, like just to build a case or something.
He did talk to Kathy Henderson of Carbon County Economic Development. And she made the comment, again, anecdotal, didn't see any data, and that's a problem I have with Carbon County Economic Development Corporation. I don't think they ever do enough research and data analysis. You know, again, she said, well, Jim Thorpe folks are suffering also. And I have no doubt, but again, to what degree?
Who have they talked to? Who have they asked,
Show me the data. Again, I just, anecdotal evidence to me is just... It's additional to the data. So let's really talk. The last thing we're going to talk about tonight is Atlantic turbines a little bit because that's
in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, and we did kind of start with talking about it
also.
So I did see again we have another appeal that's in front of Judge Serafas. And both of these appeals are awaiting a decision, bottom line, when it comes to the turbines in Penn Forest Township. The folks out there continue to require funding to support their legal effort. So if you have a position or a stance in support of the organization that doesn't want turbines in Penn Forest Township, I would highly encourage you to go ahead, get on their Facebook page, support SOAR, Save Our Allegheny Ridge Lines, and contribute specifically for the Penn Forest effort. That's taking place in regards to that. Then I'd like to, again, mention briefly here, I've had a lot of opportunities to get up to Packard Township and who've been hosting their zoning board hearings because of the number of folks that have been attending at the Weatherly Middle School and Weatherly High School, and it goes back and forth. The zoning board hearings not significantly dissimilar to what has occurred previously up at Penn Forest, but they're going through that process of subject matter experts, expert witnesses being brought in. This past week, they were talking about flicker. Matter of fact, we have a fan going right now above our heads, and I looked up and I thought about flicker and what that might cause in the way of health. They're also talking about the ice that is generated during days where temperature is below freezing. They said it could be
slung up to 800 feet.
Or something. And again, these are small, how big of an ice chunk is coming off. you know, they did ask the question, they asked the expert witness, it was in regards to being a hunter up there, would you want to be under them when they were slinging ice or something? Or would you be cautious? He said, oh yeah.
Stay out of the area.
Yeah.
But they said there would probably be like seven
days?
ice days, or where the conditions would to generate that kind of ice that would be dangerous.
Yeah. Was it 7 and not 5?
7, I thought.
Oh, okay.
It was 7 or 8 is what I was thinking.
But there's a particular number of what they call ice days.
Ice days, like potential ice days for
stuff like that. So stay away from wind turbines on those days.
On icy days.
All right. But important about this, you know, Broad Mountain Power, and I've spoken to the project manager a couple times, twice in depth, and I always try to have a short conversation with them when I go to the meetings to better understand the wind turbine industry and, you know, the pros and cons of it. And Broad Mountain Power has done a much better job of keeping the public informed than Atlantic Wind. And I've spoken to the project managers for Atlantic Wind also, and sat down for one who was coming in for about an hour and a half. But publicly, I did not think Atlantic Wind was nearly as open, kimono as they say, as Broad Mountain Power, Algonquin Liberty Power has been. So that's a positive that they've opened that shop in Weatherly shop. They've opened public relations. Broad Mountain Power also had a hearing at Lake Hotto Estates, because now you're starting to see folks other than Packer Township starting to understand the potential ramifications of these turbines. Lake Hotto, which would have the turbines on the hill above them. Nesquahoning, who has the transmission line.
I'm going to call your mom because
coming
she
down.
might need to
Okay,
ride.
that's fine. So again, then we do have on the 16th and the 24th will be the next hearings up at Weatherly, either the senior high school or the middle school, for the wind turbines up in Packer Township. And the last thing I'll talk about, power generation. Recently came out about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks ago, a hydro plant or dams being going through the regulatory process for Packer and Banks Township. And more or less what the process is, they're going to take filtered mine water, they're going to have it in a dam or a reservoir. During the day, they're going to have that water flow from an upper reservoir to a lower reservoir. As that water descends, obviously it will go through a system and allow it to generate hydroelectric power. That water that is now sitting at the lower reservoir, at night, when the energy costs are lower, that water will be pumped back up to the upper reservoir, and then that process will keep repeating over and over again. So again, I heard it's a pretty significant project from what I've seen posted on social media and the websites and some of the regulatory agencies that are looking at the possibility of this project. Part of the problem is this is old, actually, mine water. So that's something else to be looking at in regards to alternative energy production here in Carbon County. This hydro project being proposed or being looked at for potential development. In Packer and Banks Township. But it's great to see all the people at least being sensitized and cognizant of these things are now coming out and people being actively involved. Had about 75 folks up in Weatherly this past week and stuff like that. And I'm hoping to at least get back up there on the 16th. Don't know if I'll also get up there on the 24th, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. So again, I'm Chris Lukasevich, candidate for Carbon County Commissioner, and it was Josh I have to get back in touch with about this time. Okay, good, I got that. I want to thank you for joining Maggie and I again. We're going to start spinning it back up, start getting back into our rhythm as it comes and pertains to Carbon Matters, where again, this is about discussing the issues and having a conversation as much as we possibly can through this medium on the issues that matter most to you. And if there's something that I'm not addressing that you think would be worth our time and effort to raise, drop me an email at chris@c4commissioner.org, social media, post it, PM me, whatever it takes to get that. Give me a call at 570-503-6780. One, I want to be better educated about the issues that matter most to you so I can develop courses of action of how, if elected, I'm able to help make a difference and improve your quality of life. I do always want to remind you that, frankly, we are sponsored here in Carbon Matters. Cafe Ruiz Coffee, North America, is our primary sponsor for this live streaming. Again, so if you're looking for some good Panamanian coffee, just go ahead and Google Ruiz Coffee and order some from Leah and David Peck, who are actually living out in Strongsville, Ohio, just not far, really in the Dayton area. Oh, excuse me, Football Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio area. So don't hesitate to reach out to them. And I am going to tell you that. And the last thing I'm going to say, and Marianne probably better than anyone other than Maggie knows this, it's very expensive to run a campaign. Very, very expensive. And one individual, unless you are very well off, it would be very difficult to run a campaign without contributions. And other than trying to sell some swag, some coffee mugs, and some t-shirts previously.
Right.
The fact is, the majority of my campaign has been privately funded by Chris L. Lukasevich and some generous donors in time and some money. I've done some publications and some ads and stuff like that. I'm very grateful for that. But I am going to tell you, we will need financing in the second half to help us get across the finish line. Yeah. So I would encourage each and every one of you who do tune in to have the conversation with us on a regular occurrence. For those who believe that I have the training, the education, the skill, the background, and experience to help improve the quality of life for you, your family, your friends, and other county residents, to make a contribution to my campaign. If you go to c4commissioner.org, in the upper right, big button that says donation. If you're on my donate, right. Yeah. If you go to C4 Commissioner Facebook page on the left side, I don't like how Facebook does it, but there's a donate word there that you click on. But I would ask that you consider helping me help you. And while I do need your prayers, I need your moral support, we always will need volunteers from now through the election on 5 November. We also do need financial support. It humbles me to have to come and ask for that financial support. So it is critical. So I would ask you to seriously consider contributing that which you can to c4commissioner.org, donate button up on the upper right, or you can simply send a check to C4 P.O. Box 4040, Jim Thorpe, PA 18229. That's C4 P.O. Box 4040, Jim Thorpe, PA 18229. Or, you know what? Stop by C4 headquarters at 1200 block, right? Most of you guys already know where we live. Or guess what? Google it. Or whatever, you'll see it. Just drive up a block from the high school, and there we are on the left. Just come on in, open your checkbook, open your wallet, make a donation.
We'll make some coffee for you.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Coffee's always on. If not, it'll be on the minute you walk in the door. And there you'll have your sample at Cafe Ruiz. So again, I want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I want to thank you, importantly, for your continued support and your willingness to be better informed citizens of Carbon County and better informed voters. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. We'll be back here in 2 weeks. in 2 weeks tonight. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.